Farmer Rally. Tonight, a city grieves the senseless killing of a beloved community member.
Everybody loved him that met him.
Sharif Rahman, a restaurant owner in Owen Sound, has now died in hospital. Police say he was beaten over a dispute about an unpaid dining bill. Plus,
it hurts. It hurts to find pregnant women sleeping on the floor.
Growing calls for action from other levels of government, from those who've been working to feed and house asylum seekers in Toronto. And
this ship is so precious. It's the only one in existence in the world today, and it's 80 years old, but she's still here today.
A milestone birthday for one of the last remaining Canadian vessels to serve this country, the HMCS Haida.
This is CBC Saturday News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. After spending weeks living in an emergency shelter at a Toronto church, dozens of asylum seekers want action from other levels of government. They're calling for housing beyond the temporary shelter of the church they've been offered by Good Samaritans in the community. The CBC's Clara Pasica visited that church and has more.
Pius Adini has been sleeping on this bench for 3 days at what was once a regular restaurant.
I've been in Canada now for about 2 months. I was hanging around, sleeping outside. Any place I can lay my head. I didn't have any befitting accommodation or shelter. I tried to get a place in the shelter, no way. I went there, I phoned them, it was not possible. So at last, I found this place.
Owned by Pilgrim Feast Tabernacles, the church has paused its restaurant business so some 160 asylum seekers and refugees, like Pius, have somewhere to stay. But the other work here is anything but paused. Today, church director Nadine Miller and the church team unloaded groceries and cleaning supplies. As numbers grow here, there's now increasing concern about the temperatures dropping as fall approaches.
Everybody is still close to each other. It's not like it's a designed space that is isolated, so everybody's in an individual room.
Indeed, anything but. The church is currently housing more people in a nearby business and is counting on it delaying its opening. It's also relying on donations of food and other supplies, but it's temporary and not sustainable, a process that has become emotional for this pastor, trying to do what they believe their faith has called on them to do.
So sad. This breaks my heart. I barely sleep. I wish I had all the money in the world. We would not come to the government, but we'll take care of them. I don't have that kind of money.
The crisis has intensified in recent months, with more people arriving every day at the church's doorstep. This week, asylum seekers and church workers demonstrated outside the offices of the riding's politicians.
Need jobs?
While immigration is a federal responsibility, the church is calling on help from other levels of government. The premier who holds this Etobicoke riding says building housing fast is what his government can do.
We have thousands, tens of thousands of people. I have people in my own riding, as you've heard, asylum seekers, new refugees coming here are sleeping in churches' basements, sleeping in an old TD bank. That's unacceptable. We need to continue to build homes.
Church leaders say while places to stay are available in the Greater Golden Horseshoe, they aren't free. They're calling on the federal government to help in the form of rent subsidies so asylum seekers can move into their own homes and start their new lives. Clara Pasica, CBC News, Toronto.
Sophia Kambalia joins us with a first look at the forecast. Sophia, a bit of a mixed bag today. Looked outside, it was sunny, started walking to the subway, started pouring.
Yeah, this is where Mother Nature prepares us for what is to come with fall, just slowly pulling the curtain from underneath us. So yeah, we had some fog this morning, heavy rain throughout parts of the GTA. It is clearing as we speak. A few quick pockets of showers, but really it's mainly sunny with some cloudy breaks out there at the moment, and the clearing trend will be the trend to come for the next 36, even 48 hours. We had some active weather Thursday into Friday. Northwest flow will be the story for really a gorgeous Sunday and Monday to boot. Late Tuesday evening is really the only chance of precipitation for this upcoming work week. This is fabulous news for a lot of reasons. For any of the C&E goers, yes, bidding adieu to summer in really the best way possible. But as we talk a little bit about summer temperatures, there's been one thing lacking, and that is the 30-degree days. In the long range, we'll unpack the fact that, yes, it's been a pretty nice stable July so far, but what have we been missing is those hot dog days of summer. No 30-degree day so far in Toronto and in cities to the south that are famous for them in summer, like Windsor. We'll go through all the data and the numbers for you in the long-range forecast in a little bit at the end of the show, Farah.
All right, thanks so much, Sophia.
You're welcome.
To the ongoing wildfire situation gripping communities across this country. The situation remains on edge in the Northwest Territories, with a major fire threatening the town of Hay River. Extreme high temperatures and strong winds yesterday created what's known as a blow-up event near the community. The intense flames forced fire crews to retreat and all non-essential workers to evacuate. The CBC's Ithil Musa has the latest.
A wildfire rages across the West Channel dock near Hay River. Authorities say it's inching closer and closer to the community.
We know that the fire traveled a huge distance and is very close to the town.
A second evacuation order was issued Friday. Many residents, including Mayor Candace Jamieson and her dogs, boarded military flights out. But despite government orders, some Hay River residents are deciding to stay.
My message would be, really be aware of what's going on. Stay tuned in to, and if at all possible, please leave the community. I can't stress that enough.
On Friday, high gusting winds and hot temperatures sent the wildfire raging northward, overwhelming fire crews.
It was an extraordinary event yesterday, and this situation would have been much worse if they weren't able to, keep fighting that fire in strategic areas.
Firefighters are also battling fires near Fort Smith. One resident who returned to volunteer after being evacuated to Edmonton says community members are rallying together to support emergency workers.
You can really get the sense of, what does it mean to be living in the North. Everybody's helping everybody. It's a good spirit, despite, this really difficult time. And there's a lot of solidarity and helping.
We are in a disaster that we've never seen before.
The Premier of the Northwest Territories has been calling on the federal government for more infrastructure support. Today, she met with the Prime Minister, who was promising to do more.
There's a lot to do, and we're going to keep being there with that. And we're also going to be there for the long term as we look at how we build more resilient infrastructure, how we support people living in the North.
In Hay River, officials are urging essential workers to head to the airport to await further instructions. Ithil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
More evacuation orders are being lifted in BC's central Okanagan region as the province announces mental health supports by those impacted by the wildfires.
It was terrifying because all you saw in front of you was red taillights, and behind us in the rearview mirrors, all you saw was fire coming at you. And so we were pretty scared.
At least 900 more people in West Kelowna have been allowed to return home, and the mayor of Lake Country says remaining evacuation orders are being downgraded to alerts. Flames have damaged or destroyed nearly 200 properties. After days of cooler, wetter weather, the forecast is hot and sunny again, conditions that could lead fires to flare up once again. A shocking assault on an Owen Sound community member has now turned into a homicide investigation. 44-year-old Sharif Rahman ran the Curry House restaurant in the heart of the city. Police say he was beaten last week over an alleged dispute over an unpaid dining bill. The community is now grieving the loss of the father and husband and searching for answers. Patrick Swadden has more.
Sharif Rahman was known around Owen Sound as a charitable figure, a humble and quiet man, but dedicated to family, friends, and his community.
He did things like raise money and feed different community groups, or take the profits from dinners and give them to community groups on top of the hours that he donated. Everybody loved him that met him.
The owner of the Curry House was beaten by 3 assailants last Thursday outside his restaurant over what police say was a dispute stemming from an unpaid dinner bill. Rahman was on life support for a week, but died on Thursday.
It's been a very challenging week for everyone who lives in Owen Sound with this event.
Police say it's now a homicide investigation as investigators desperately search for the suspects. Photos released by OPP aren't very clear, but police say all 3 suspects are white males, with 2 in their 20s or 30s and the third in his 40s or 50s. The suspect vehicle is similar to a gray or blue 2000s model Ford Escape. Members of the town are shocked something like this could happen in such a small, tight-knit community.
It's incredibly heinous. It's very, very sad.
Family friend and local realtor Mark Barbosa set up a GoFundMe page for the late Rahman, hoping to raise $25,000 for the family, Rahman's wife and 6-year-old daughter. It's since amassed over $200,000.
He would help anybody who needed anything at any time, and he did. He was, a supporter of charities, and he cooked for kitchens and the homeless places, and so always giving back to his community. And just it's such a bad irony that something so violent could happen to such a peaceful person.
Meanwhile, community members gathered for a vigil on Wednesday night just before Rahman died. Another vigil is being held Sunday night after Rahman's funeral.
Our community is very tight. We look after each other and always have, and we have a history of doing that.
As the community continues to support one another, the search continues for the 3 suspects. Patrick Swadden, CBC News, Toronto.
Sad news from the entertainment world tonight. Legendary daytime television host Bob Barker has died. Barker emceed 2 long-running game shows, Truth or Consequences, and of course, more famously, The Price is Right. For Barker, it all lasted from 1956 to 2007. He handed out more than $300 million in prizes, collected 19 Daytime Emmy Awards for himself. He was also a determined animal rights activist, criticizing practices in zoos, rodeos, and circuses, and helping fund a ship fighting the whaling industry in Japan. Bob Barker was 99. Welcome back. Canada has triumphed once again at the World Athletics Championships, taking both the top spots in the men's decathlon.
And for the first time in World Championship history, a Canadian wins the decathlon. But it's not the Olympic champion Damien Warner, it's his great friend Pierce Lepage, who tonight steps out of the shadow of the man who inspired him into the sport. Tonight belongs to Lepage. And what a night for the Canadians.
What a night indeed. Pierce Lepage of Whitby, Ontario, finished with 8,909 points to win his first world title. He finished second at the championships last year. Damien Warner of London, Ontario, finished right behind him, taking the silver. An outdoor championship remains the only major event Warner had not won. Soccer's world governing body FIFA has weighed in on the controversy surrounding Spanish Federation chief Luis Rubias, announcing today he will be given a provisional suspension. This as it investigates allegations he gave a player an unwanted kiss on the lips after Spain's women won the World Cup. News of that suspension came just hours after Spain's soccer body said it was backing him. The CBC's Chris Reyes reports.
It's the strongest rebuke so far of Spanish soccer boss Luis Rubiales' actions at the Women's World Cup final last week, kissing player Jenny Hermoso after her team's historic win. A 3-month suspension from FIFA and a full investigation of what happened.
We wish they had done it a bit sooner, but it is good to see them finally move as the governing body for football around the world. They needed to take leadership on this.
Hermoso has made it clear the kiss was not consensual, despite Rubiales claiming it was. FIFA has also ordered Rubiales not to contact Hermoso. The Spanish government has opened its own investigation into the matter. Sports Secretary Victor Francos called the kiss Spanish soccer's Me Too moment, adding that his government will not stand for Rubiales' actions.
No voy a dimitir.
The suspension comes just one day after Rubiales was defiant in front of his federation, repeatedly declaring that he's not resigning. The federation says it will defend him. Hermoso and her teammates followed with a strongly worded letter, declaring they won't play until he's removed. On social media, words of support for Hermoso, including from their rival team, England's The Lionesses. In a statement, the team said, "Abuse is abuse, and we've all seen the truth." Jenny, hermana, aquí está tu manada. This woman, who joined a protest outside the Spanish Soccer Federation headquarters, says, "We can't have such an unpresentable representative in a Spanish institution. He's causing discredit for women and football."
I hope that there continues to be enough blowback and pressure to not only resolve the situation for the women in the Spanish team, but to also dig out some of the rot that I think goes very, very deep.
The staff that coached the Spanish women's team to victory have all resigned except for the manager, Jorge Vilda. The team is due to play again in September. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
To Barrie now, where several firefighters dressed in full gear led a memorial walk to honor a local veteran who raised more than $1 million for cancer research.
To thank everybody myself. We're down here at the Will Memorial Park.
That's Robert Dwyer, organizer of the walk and son of Will Dwyer, who in 1981 carried on Terry Fox's legacy by starting a fundraising campaign that hit the $1 million mark in 2019. Now his son Robert is carrying on the torch. Firefighters from across the GTA and local residents joined the 22-kilometer walk. We'll be back in just a few moments. World War II reenactors were in Hamilton to mark a different sort of milestone. They're celebrating the 80th birthday of one of the last remaining Canadian vessels to serve this country in several epic battles, the HMCS Haida. Naval Officer Andy Barber was on board and patrolling the Korean coasts in the mid-1950s.
This ship is so precious. It's the only one in existence in the world today, and it's 80 years old, but she's still here today. To show the public. And like I always say to people, it served in World War II, it served in Korea, and it served during the Cold War, and it's still serving the public today by having people come aboard to learn a little bit about their history. In the front it had these torpedoes. There's about 750 pounds of Torpex. And when it hits something, it makes an awfully big bang. I'm a former crew member. Served 23 months aboard the ship, including her second tour of the Korean War. That ship means a lot to me because it brings back memories of when I was a young guy running around doing my thing in here. On August 26, 1954, we ran into Typhoon Grace, just off the Strait of Formosa. And we were going through these waves, and I'm looking up at the waves. They're something like 60 to 65 feet high. And we survived for over 16 hours in that.
It's done a lot with those 80 years, and that's what we're celebrating this weekend. It's one thing, and certainly valuable, to go to a museum, see pictures, see artifacts and things like that. But to go aboard the ship is really to be surrounded by it. We are looking forward to having folks go down to the engine room and see, the gully works of the ship. It's fascinating stuff, all original to 1943. Go up to the open air bridge, see what a flying bridge looks like, the way ships were designed before radar existed. If you go to the mess decks, you'll see where the sailors would have had their hammocks strung, and try to imagine what that would have been like on the high seas. It's a really interesting place, and I think it really invites folks to kind of learn on their own terms, just being surrounded by it.
That's CJJD, and that's the Haida's name or call sign. It was something to go aboard a ship, to sail out and be trained well enough to confront the enemy. So this ship and other people, the 3,000 guys that marched on this ship from all walks of life, from all parts of Canada, Canadians should be very proud of them.
Well, it's already been another busy weekend across the province with festivals and events happening. At Nathan Phillips Square, a Filipino cultural event is celebrating its 25th anniversary. Toronto's mayor was there this morning to share a message with organizers.
I want to send a strong gratitude to all of you through the years that you've put this festival together, that you have created opportunity for people to learn more about your culture.
The two-day event is organized by Philippine Independence Day Council Toronto. It features a number of local and foreign talents and community groups, as well as food, music, and vendors. And not too far from there at Yonge Dundas Square, the Tobago Toronto Festival also in full swing. It's a celebration of the Trinidad and Tobago diaspora.
Experiencing some of our cultural assets, such as the steel pan, which is our national instrument. We will have cultural dancing, Indian dancing, African drumming.
The event will also feature performances from major soca and calypso artists and a wide selection of Caribbean cuisine. Sophia Kambalia joins us for a look at the extended forecast. Not going to lie, that made me a little bit hungry looking at or hearing about some of the food at that festival.
Speaking of the islands, wish I could offer a little bit of island sunshine this upcoming week, but we just don't have it. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Don't know if we're going to get the heat before fall-like temperatures come in. We talked earlier, pleasant afternoon and evening after all the rain this morning. This northwest flow is what's keeping it a little bit cooler and below seasonal by about 5 degrees, but we'll also keep it stable for the next couple of days. Look at that, plenty of sunshine. But we should be about 25, 26 this time of year. We will not get that. There's this cold front to the north and we are under its influence, but we will have plenty of sunshine. So this is great if you wanted the stable days to go out there and enjoy some of the end of summer festivities. But folks, while it is pleasant, it is a little bit cooler along the lake shores. And to me, this is sweater weather in the morning, especially if you're waking up in cottage country for this upcoming week ahead. Pleasant, cooler, a bit below seasonal, but many of you have been telling me this doesn't really feel much like summer weather out there. We haven't had that really hot stretch of days. And in fact, the last time you had a 30-degree day was at the end of July the 28th. And the last time we had a month of August without a 30-degree day was way back in 2008. So you can say it's a record-breaking month. Cities like Windsor that normally get a stretch of about 6 days above 30 degrees have had 0 this time of year, including Hamilton, Montreal, and Ottawa. Where has there been a 30-degree day in the eastern half of the country? Well, way up in northwestern Ontario. More of that prairie influence there. The closest we have gotten was 29.5 in the city of Toronto. This upcoming week ahead will be pleasant, as we mentioned, but about 5 to 6 degrees below seasonal, not only in Toronto, but into the southwest as well, Farah. So enjoy stable, cool, calm, and clear this week.
All right.
No hot weather, though.
Sweater weather. Coming too early, as it always does every
pumpkin
year.
Spice, bring it on.
Thanks so much, Sophia. That is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. But before we go, you are looking at some scenes from Fan Expo today, Canada's biggest comic and entertainment convention. It's happening this weekend, bringing together enthusiasts, TV and film superfans, and cosplayers. We spoke to some who spent quite a bit of time working on their costumes.
Princess Zelda from Ocarina of Time. I got into cosplay because of the Zelda franchise, so I figured it was only fair that I do a couple of them. I did make this one. It took me about 4 months.
This is my favorite fictional character of all time, Son Goku from Dragon Ball Z. It took me like 3 months. This is my comfort home. I actually love this place. Everybody's lit. I love it.
The convention is expected to draw thousands of people for 4 days of cosplay, celebs, comics, anime, and gaming.